All right, so your first question may or may not be why am I dressed in a suit? Is this some special occasion? No, this is just how I dress on a regular basis. I am serious, by the way. I know most of my videos are recorded just in a blue t shirt, but I swear this is actually how I dress. I just usually record immediately after I get home from work, so that's why. Anyway, I'm here today to talk. Oh, also, one more thing. Let me interrupt myself there. If you could subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. It would mean a whole lot to me. I recently surpassed 200. Let's make it to 300, baby. I'm not going to waste any more of your time with that. Let's talk about the movie Smile, released in 2022. This is a movie that I have a bit of a history with trying to watch, and not in the way that you might think. It's a horror movie that I have tried to watch in the past, not for the reasons you think. It's not that it's bad. It's not that it was too scary. I just couldn't stay awake. I completed watching this movie on my fourth attempt. The first three times I sat down and tried to watch this movie on DVD, not in theaters, I fell asleep every time. Not because it's boring. It's a very interesting movie. I was just super tired all three nights. I finally finished it last night as of the recording this video, and let me tell you, it is a fantastic movie. If you haven't seen it, I would highly recommend you do, just in general. And if you want to watch the rest of this video, I would highly recommend you go watch the movie beforehand because there will be heavy spoilers. I'll start with a plot summary, I guess, and then break down into my review of it. Um, so it's a movie. It's called Smile, and it starts. Our story follows a doctor named Rose. She's the main character, and she's interviewing this patient who watched a man die. I can't say certain things on YouTube. I'm not monetized. Why do I care? I don't really want to have this video taken down. So she watched a man commit toaster bath, and she's interviewing this lady. And in the middle of the interview with her, where she's like asking, it's not, or sorry, not an interview, like a therapy session, and she's asking her a bunch of questions, and all of a sudden, a vase gets broken, and before you know it, the woman that she's talking to, the patient, is holding a shard of the vase, and just with a huge grin on her face like this, just slits her throat all the way across, and just falls to the floor, still smiling, really really joyous, and yeah, and she dies, and that's the catalyst for the entire plot. Believe it or not, I know that seems unlikely that that has something to do with the story, but it does. Trust me. So things happen, and now the main character, Doctor Lady Rose, is going crazy. She's losing her fucking mind with every single scene. Most of this movie is just her mentally breaking down. The vast majority of it, but it's done so well that I can't help but commend it. It's not particularly scary. There are a couple of good scares, but it's not like one of those movies where it's like consistently scary throughout. It's more story driven than scare driven, if that makes sense. Most of the runtime is dedicated to telling a story rather than scaring you. But when it wants to scare you, it does so fantastically, especially near the end, and I'll get to that. So things are going down. She's seeing people. The girl that she watched commit touch live electrical wire. She's appearing everywhere like an apparition. She's just smiling at her. And she won't say anything. She'll just be like in the corner of a room. She'll just appear, and Rose is the only one who can see her. And she's just, well, no, it's not like that. It's more like it's like an evil grin. Obviously, you probably suspect as much. Um, and it keeps going, and she's at her nephew's birthday party eventually, and when her nephew is opening Rose's gift, it turns out to be Rose's cat that is killed. That Rose killed her cat and gave it as a birthday gift to her nephew without realizing it, and she has a mental breakdown during the party with tons of people around, like all her family and friends. Like, no, I didn't do this. You have to believe me. I know that's my cat, but I would never do this. And it's incredibly well shot, and and you can feel the tension rising as people are like, what the fuck? And Rose is like, no, you have to believe me. I didn't do this. And then she falls backwards onto a glass table, and she gets up slowly, and there's lacerations all over both of her forearms from the glass, and she starts screaming at the top of her lungs, and cut to the next scene where she's in the hospital getting bandaged up. um, and also, after shortly after she starts going crazy, she gets put on administrative leave, so she's not working in the movie. She works at the hospital, but she's like not only she's like her boss is like, you need to take time off. I'm ordering you to. Um, and and yeah, and she gets healed up, and she's talking to her fiance about like, you have to believe me. I know it sounds crazy, but you please tell me you believe me. And he's like, okay. He's also played by the guy who played A Train in the Boys. He's like, yeah, okay, go ahead. And she's like, I'm seeing things. I'm seeing not ghosts, like some entity. And then he's understandably like, what the fuck are you talking about? I can't go along with this. Do you understand how crazy you sound? It's like, I mean, frankly, it's understandable, because for someone who just watched someone commit, um, you know, it's not great. I mean, it's not great for the psyche. People go insane from that in real life, from trauma, and that's, it might be foreshadowing. Um, and she's like, no, you have to believe me. I'm telling you the truth. I'm not crazy. And he's like, no, I just can't take this. And he leaves. And then I'm getting the sequence of events a little fuzzy, because I'm not remembering everything in order, just the big points, and just the whole movie's like this, where crazy things are happening. And she eventually goes to see her sister, the one that she gave the dead cat to her nephew. Um, and she's like, you have to believe me. None of my friends, none of my coworkers, my fiance, they don't believe me, but you have to believe me. I'm seeing things. I'm seeing crazy things of like of the woman who killed herself. There, I said it on YouTube. Um, and she's like, do you realize how you traumatized my son? And it's like totally understandable. Dead cat as a birthday present. No explanation there. It turns out Rose did not kill the cat, if you can believe that. It was something more sinister. But that's for later. Spoilers. And um, and she just like slams the door in her face, and well, not really, but she like walks inside and just is like, nope, can't do this, not taking it. I don't want to be around you when you're like this. And then she drops like a little bombshell of information as to their past, where their mom went through the exact same thing, like episodes of psychosis where she would see things, and she was just going crazy, and made their childhoods hell. And um and she's like, you're turning into mom, and she just leaves. And then Rose goes out to her car and just has another mental breakdown, slamming on the steering wheel and just freaking out. And it's a really good shot where, as she's freaking out in the car, the camera is pointed out the window of the driver's seat towards the house that she just came out of her sister. And her sister starts walking back out, but because of the camera, she's blurry in the distance, so she's really slowly walking back out to the car. And you think as the viewer that she's going to come back out and be like, I'm sorry, Rose, let's talk this out more. And but no, she just comes up to the car, and it, like, all you can see through the window is her torso, and her face is obscured by the top of the car. And then she knocks on the glass, and Rose is like, oh. And then her head, like she, like, her neck breaks, and her head turns fully upside down to look at Rose upside down without her body moving at all. It's like an owl almost, the way they can turn their heads around, but like this way. And it's incredible. And she's of course got this that smile on her face, and it's really good, genuinely fantastic scare there. I'm not sure if I can show the clip on YouTube. If I can, I'll edit it in, but I don't know how copyright works. um it's it's really good, and she's just freaking out. And she eventually, she has a friend named Joel, who's a cop who has access to like files on patients in hospitals and stuff like that. And she's like, she's asking if there's any correlation with any of this, and if there's anything he can do to explain. And and so they go through files of like medical documents, of that girl who killed herself in front of Rose. And they find this chain of people who kill themselves, and then the person who watched them kill themselves end up killing themselves within a couple days. And it's repeated like 20 times. And there's one guy who's currently serving a life sentence for murder who did not kill himself. One guy who witnessed one of these other people kill themselves who did not, but he's in a life sentence for murder on the other hand. So they do the only logical thing because he's the only person who might have some insight as to what's happening with Rose, where they go see him and have like, one of those prison visits. And, this 10-minute warning and all that. And she just sits down and this guy's like Mr. Exposition. He's like, it's this entity that feeds off of trauma and that it, gives us finally some insights to what's happening in the movie with the sinister entity, where it's like a demon that feeds off of trauma, where it transfers like a virus, where or like a disease, where it infects it takes control of a person and starts messing with them psychologically, driving them to suicide, and that it always makes sure that there's a witness to that person committing suicide, where um, that the person who was a witness to it, the second party, gets transferred the thing. It's like a parasite almost that gets transferred once it's done with its current host, and it transfers through the trauma of watching someone kill themselves. And I think that is really cool, really creative, works fantastically for a horror movie. I gotta say, really good. That's what killed the cat. This entity, by the way, if you couldn't guess. Um, and and then and she was going there under the pretense of telling this guy, like, I have a patient who's going through similar things to you, can you give me some insight? And she really means herself, but she doesn't want to tell him that. And he tells her that the only way, there's one way you can make it out alive, and that's to kill someone else and watch someone see it happen. So that would be three people. That has to be you. You have to kill someone. You have to kill person number two, and then you have to have a third person who watches you kill person number two, and then the demon is transferred to them, and you're still alive. You're just going to be a murderer, but you'll be alive in prison, maybe, depending on the death penalty where you're living. Um, and so there's really no winning. I mean, you either kill someone or kill yourself. It's horrible. It's awful. Um, but really intriguing for a plot. And then when he gives her that revelation, Rose is like, I can't kill anybody. And then the guy's putting the puzzle pieces together in his head, where he's like, wait, didn't she say she was coming here for a patient? And she's like, oh no, she has it. What if she kills herself in front of me? And then I get it again. I already had. I want to have it again. And he starts freaking out. Get away from me! Get away from me! And the guards rush in to take him out. It's total mental breakdown, and it's really good. I can't stress highly enough how good the acting is. I don't even recognize almost any of the actors except the guy who plays A Train, and he's only in the movie for like 10 minutes. But the actors are all incredible. Every scene, I was thinking in my head watching them, this feels like a real interaction between people. This does not feel like people who read a script and are acting it out. This feels like something that's real. This feels like a documentary. It's so good. Like, the writing is fantastic, but the acting is just stellar. It feels so real. Every character feels like a very real person. It's fantastic. I can't recommend this movie highly enough if you like horror movies. Um, and so she has what she knows now, that she either is going to kill herself eventually because this thing is going to drive her to do it eventually successfully. It's happened 20 times before, or she kills someone else. And then she drives to the hospital with a knife with her, and um, and she starts putting it up her sleeve, and she goes in, and one of the nurses, as she walks in, is like, aren't you supposed to be on administrative leave? And she's like, I'm just getting something from my office. And she goes into one of her patients' room with the intent to go murder him with a knife, which is stab him to death. And the guy starts freaking out, saying like, "Oh, you're gonna die! You're gonna die! You're gonna die! You're gonna die!" It's like one of those screamy psych ward patients. And she pulls the knife out, and her coworker enters the room and is like, "Rose, what are you doing here?" And she pulls the knife out and she starts stabbing her patient to death. And the whole time the patient is just laughing and laughing, ha ha ha, ha. And it's incredible. It's terrifying. It's really good. And as this is happening, her coworker standing in the doorway, her boss doctor, is screaming with his hands up in the air, and then he starts tearing his own face off. I shit you not, and it looks incredible, like effects wise. It's really good, and and then she wakes up. That was a dream. Not the whole movie, but that specific part where she went in the hospital was a dream. She is, however, sitting in the hospital parking lot with a knife right next to her. So she was thinking about that. That was a dream though. And then her doctor friend who was in the dream ripping his face off, he comes out in real life now, and he's like, "Rose, what are you doing here? You can't be working right now. You need to take some time off." And she's like, "Oh, I'm just getting out of here." And realizing that, like, no, I can't kill someone. And so he's just like, no, I gotta get out of here. And then as he's looking in her car, he sees the knife on the passenger seat, and you can see his face, his heart just drop. Where he's like, no, no, Rose, I don't think you should leave. I think we should go inside and talk. And because this guy knows that she's going crazy, that she's losing her mind, and now she has a knife at a hospital with her, and doesn't look good. Um, and then she just drives away while her coworker, who's a really good guy, like he seems to just genuinely care about her a lot. He's like, no, no, Rose, wait, come back. And no, and she just keeps on driving, and and she gets a call from Joel, her cop friend, who's been helping her, and she's like, no, I figured out there's one way I can make this all stop, and that's to just get away from everyone else, because now she knows. I think it's cool because it is really like the one way to get out of it for other people. And you can't get out of it yourself, but you can make it not spread. Where if you just get away from everyone, because it needs that second part. If you just kill yourself with no one around, it'll die. This entity feeds off other people. So I think that's super cool. So she goes to her childhood home, which is this little shack in the middle of nowhere, like miles and miles away. And her friend is like, no, don't do this. We need to figure things out here. And she's like, no, I just need to be alone, so I don't get anyone else hurt. And um and they make her likable in that sense, where she's like kind of selfless, where she's willing to just kind of like isolate herself for the greater good of everyone else around her, even if she knows it's not going to be good for her. And this is where the movie gets genuinely fucking terrifying. I'm not joking. I had a nightmare last night that had nothing to do with this dream. I'm sorry, I had a nightmare last night that had nothing to do with the movie, like no elements of the plot in it, but it was a nightmare nonetheless. And I think that's accurate. I don't get scared by horror movies much, but holy shit, there were moments that fucking got me. And I'm not talking about jump scares. I'm talking about moments that are so fucking terrifying. Holy shit. Do you see that closet door? I was really thinking, because there's a scene in the movie where this monster starts going like this. There's a scene like that. And and as I was trying to sleep, my bed is right there. As I was trying to sleep, I couldn't get that image out of my head because I'm looking right at my closet door, and I had to hide under my covers because I was genuinely so scared of something like that, because the monster design when it actually shows up is terrifying. It is one of the best monster designs in a horror movie I've seen in a very long time, in terms of how scary it is. Terrifying. If you like scary shit, this is the movie for you. It's really good. Oh, I forgot one of the most important scenes. Um, gotta backtrack a little bit. This is a good one. So A Train and her and a therapist that they're acquainted with get together at Rose's house, and then they set up a meeting behind her back, and then kind of just ambush her where she's coming home from like an errand, and they're like, Rose, you need to sit down and talk, and she's like, who's this? And then a therapist, we need to talk about this. You're not okay. And then she freaks out and leaves, and then later, while she's just at home, like a few days later, the same therapist shows up at their front door, and A Train fiance guy is not here this time. It's just the two of them, and she's like, "Okay, I'll let you in. Let's talk. I'll give you a chance to help." And it's a really good scene where they're just talking like it's an actual normal therapy session. Like, what's been going on, Rose? Are you okay? And she gets a call. Rose gets a call in the middle of the session from the therapist, And that's when you realize that, oh shit. That's when she realizes, Rose and the audience realizes, oh shit, that's not the real therapist sitting across from Rose. And it's established pretty clearly that the monster can shapeshift and take the form of like whoever it pleases, mainly in attempts to further traumatize whoever it is, to like get in their personal life and confuse them and torment them. And it took the form of a therapist, walked in the house, and then had a fake therapy session with her about itself. And then the real therapist gives Rose a call, and she's like, "Oh," and she just drops the phone, and the therapist starts going, "It's almost time, Rose," and that's not scary because I'm me. But in the movie, it's really good. And she starts chasing her through the house, and just and oh my god, it's really good. And it kind of just cuts to the next scene because it's kind of implied that like it's not quite time. She said it's almost time, so she didn't want to do anything quite yet. I think it was because there's no one else there at the time, so she couldn't have her kill herself there. Um, but she's just driving her more and more insane. This creature, and so she goes to her childhood home. Let's cut back to where I was before. Goes back to her childhood home, and is just walking around. And she left her phone in the car, and you can see Joel calling her again, and she's not picking up because she doesn't have her phone anymore. And um, and she just has these hallucinations basically, or I guess it's just memory, I suppose, where she walks into what was her mom's room, and we see a flashback when she was a child from her point of view, where she's a kid walking into her mom's room and she's going crazy, like we said before, she went insane before she passed away. And she's like, "Rose, come here, give your mom some help," or something like that. I'm not totally sure what she said exactly, but it was like something like, "Help me, Rose." And then Rose as a child is just standing there in the doorway, petrified of who her mom is becoming. And the scene ends, the flashback ends with her mom just going, "Rose!" And then she just slams the door behind her and runs out, and really good. Um and so she's in this room, and it's dark, it's nighttime, and her mom appears in the dilapidated bed because this house has been abandoned for quite some time, and just she just appears there sitting there, and she's like, "Rose, are you okay? What's happening? Why have you come back?" And just, oh my god, and you can see how in Rose's mind she's thinking, she's just kind of like silent, like in shock of like, why is she here? She's like, "This isn't real, this isn't real, this isn't real, this is the creature." And she's like battling with it, where it's like, here's my mom, but I know it's not my mom. And you can tell by looking at her face. And they have like this very short exchange, and just and then she just says it like out loud, "This isn't real, this is not real, I know what you are, this isn't real." And then her mom demon thing just starts smiling, and she runs out of the room and slams the door, and just, this is where shit gets fucked. I'll throw up some pictures, maybe not right now in the editing process. I'm not totally sure I'm going to edit this video, so take it with a grain of salt. But I'll throw up some pictures when it's convenient of what the mom creature looks like when it takes the form of her mom. Terrifying, genuinely fucking nightmare fuel. That is so it's so scary. Um, I'm fucking terrified of it now. And then she starts chasing her through the house, and it's just this game of cat and mouse where Rose is like, just like, "You're not real, get out of my head, get out of my head." And she's running outside, and before she can make it, the creature grabs her, and just says one of the best lines I've heard in a horror movie in a while, which is, "You can't escape your own mind, Rose." Where it's like, you can't escape me because I'm in your head. You can't escape your own mind. It's true. And she has this lantern next to her, and she just slams it on the monster's head and breaks it, and the whole thing catches on fire, and it just immolates in the house, and the whole thing sets ablaze, and she runs out of the house, and cut to her driving back to the city, where it's like, we as the audience are like, "Oh wow, she killed the monster, great, just burn it alive and it dies, nice." And she goes to Joel's house, and she's completely frazzled. She's just losing it even more, but kind of calmed down in a way because she's like, it's over. Um, and to Joel, she's like, I know how much you've been through helping me with this, but could I stay with you for a while? Could you stay with me while I sleep? And and Joel is like, yeah. It looks just like this. Yeah, I can stay with you. I'll stay with you forever. And that's where you realize that, like, oh shit, now it's Joel. It's not dead, and it is taking the form of Joel right now. And then Joel's chasing her through his apartment, and really good transition where she runs out of the door of his apartment, and it turns and she just ends up running out of the door of her childhood home. So she never actually left. That whole thing was just in her mind. So she never left her childhood home after getting there, and the monster is still very much alive. And it's implied that it was just, a ruse to give her a false sense of security. Like, look, oh, you've killed me. I am powerless against fire. But no, I'm actually here to fuck your whole thing up. You didn't do shit. I'm very alive and well. And the monster starts approaching her in the house. She goes back in the house, and the monster comes out of a dark room, slowly emerging, and the face that it makes, the face it makes is really fucking scary, and I'll throw it up right now if I can. I'm not sure if I'm not sure if I even want to. It is so genuinely fucking scary to me, and I don't know why. I've seen creepy looking people before in horror movies, like humanoid figures, but holy shit, this one gets me.
I'm coming!
Oh boy. And and then this visual of and Joel now finally got there. He found where Rose was, probably tracking her cell phone, I would assume. And he's outside trying to kick the door down as this monster is revealing itself to Rose. And Rose is screaming, and then the scream just stops, and she goes like comatose. She just sits there silently, and the monster starts peeling its face off like the doctor did in the dream sequence, and it reveals this horrible sight of like this skinned creature with like a million jaws inside of its mouth, and no skin, and these eyes that are so like small and beady, and oh boy, I'm sure I could throw that out. That's like the one of the main selling point visuals of the movie that people use in thumbnails. Really good. And it looks incredible. It looks so good. And then the camera kind of pans out, and we see the monster eating her, or no, I'm sorry, forcing its way inside of her mouth. The monster takes its head and just starts putting itself inside of Rose's mouth, taking control of her body manually. Because I'm pretty sure it's like realizing, wow, this is a resilient woman. She's not killing herself. Well, time to just literally possess her and make her do it. So she she's now fully being controlled by the monster. She has no free will anymore. And Joel finally kicks the door down and breaks in, and he's looking around with the flashlight. Everything's gone quiet. There's no sound, and he turns a corner in the house with his flashlight, and he's like Rose, and she's standing against the wall like in the Blair Witch Project, and then see she has a gas can held above her head, and I'm sure you can see where this is going. And she slowly turns around, and she says like, no words, just smile, and she takes a match, lights herself on fire, and seen only through the reflection in Joel's eye, you see Rose burn to death right in front of him, and then the movie ends. A direct, not implication, like fact that, yeah, now Joel has the monster. The monster made Rose kill herself, and now it's pass to Joel.
Rose! Rose. Rose.
Fantastic ending. I hear there's a sequel coming out this year. This movie's made in 2022. I think there's one coming out in 2024. Can't wait for that. And boy, oh boy, it was fantastic. A wild ride. It was so good. And I mean, there's a lot of things I'm skipping over. Go watch the movie. The movie is fantastic. It really is. Yeah, like I said, it's just the movie is so good. I could commend everything. I honestly have no complaints at all. I think it was like not like the perfect movie, not a 10 out of 10, but like I would give it a solid 9 out of 10 in my book. It's not the best movie I've ever seen, but it is fantastic. I think everyone who worked on it should be very pleased with themselves. The acting, the writing, the effects, the story, everything is great. And I think they really humanized Rose throughout the story. She's consistently likable, and you're consistently rooting for her, and it makes it really powerful. The fact that she dies, the fact that there's no happy ending with a bow on it. And the creator actually said in response to like the sad ending where everyone just gets fucked, that he just doesn't really like the cliche of making endings and making movies ending like all wrapped up with a nice bow with a kiss. He wants things to feel more visceral and grungy, and really accomplished it. And it's just the ending is so good. The monster design is so good, and everything feels so real. Everything feels like a journey of someone genuinely losing their mind. It feels like it's such a genuine, earnest depiction of someone going crazy in real life. Like it is just so beautifully made in every regard. I would watch it again. It's fantastic. It's a fantastic movie that I really think you should go watch. Like I said, there's still a lot that I've skipped over in my whole summary that took way too long, but that's good because go watch it for everything. It's way better than I could describe in words. Because I can only say so much in words. Go watch the movie. I seriously go watch it right now. Do it. All right. Okay. We have a deal, right? Okay. Anyway, you have a good day, everyone.